I'm going to call the meeting to order. Rebecca, will you please call the roll?
Here.
Hallie?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Are there, council, is there any changes to the agenda tonight? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the September 27th, 2021 council meeting. Approval of October 1, 2021 payroll in the amount of $125,932.76. Approval of the June finance report. Approval of the July finance report. Resolution authorizing funds transfer. Acceptance of the beautification commission minutes. Acceptance of the volunteer center committee minutes. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Acceptance of the arbor committee minutes. Resolution approving employment in the Park and Recs Department. Approval of total claims in the amount of $1,269,275.71. Claims greater than $75,000 include Jones Contracting, $376,209.74. Maxwell Construction, $150,348.43. McClure Engineering, $86,844.36. PKG Contracting, $334,866.80. And the PKG is contingent upon the council accepting the project as final, which is down further in our agenda here. So I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Moved by Gandy.
Second.
Second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes, but I'll need to abstain from the September 27th meeting.
Okay, tonight we have no public forum or appearances, so we'll move on to resolution, action items, and ordinances. Thank you. Are you Alex?
Yeah, I am Alex.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to, before I open the public hearing, you're going to explain this sewer aerobic digester.
Yeah. So I guess tonight we have the public hearing for the aerobic digester #1 replacement project. This project kind of came out of the improvements that we've been working to finalize at the wastewater plant over the last several years. You may recall about a year and a half ago, we looked at possibly incorporating replacement of aerobic digester #1 into the PKG contract, the one that you're going to take action on later. We ultimately decided not to include replacement of that tank under that project. At the time that we made that decision, we felt that there was maybe not enough budget left in the project. Subsequently, I think we found that there was an accounting mix-up, and there actually was budget left, but that ship had kind of sailed at that point. So as we got closer to close out the project, we realized that with the additional work remaining, it would be a good use of the obligated funds from USDA to involve replacing that digester. And the reason for that is because there's a significant amount of corrosion in the glass-lined steel panels in that tank. During the construction project, we did a little bit of digging into it, and the reason for that was, I think, a lack of electrical isolation between some stainless steel and carbon steel components, as well as kind of a lack of cathodic protection in that tank. So this project basically consists of having a contractor come in there, take the geodesic dome off the top and the aluminum walkway and grating around the tank off, tear down all 5 rings of the glass-lined panels, dispose of them, and then replace them basically with a new material. That new tank is going to include the electrical isolation around all the piping. It's also going to include additional cathodic protection, theoretically to help extend the life of the new tank. And then lastly, they'll button everything up, put the top of the tank back on, put the walkway back on, and basically seal everything back up for use. So that's kind of the overall scope of that project. The project is scheduled to have the bid letting tomorrow, I think at 1 o'clock. And the engineer's estimate is $570,000, and we've had a decent amount of interest from some general contractors in kind of this region, I think, that would be qualified to do the work, so hopefully we'll get favorable bids tomorrow.
So, right now, council, do you have any questions before I open the meeting? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. So do we have anyone to speak? Okay, nobody out there, Rebecca? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing, and we will just move on to that action item of consideration of the sanitary sewer aerobic digester number 1 replacement, projected proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of costs. So he's just said the estimate is $570,000. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
What's our funding source?
Is it, so the grant's covering,
Yes.
and this is a,
Funds through USDA, yeah.
so
Yeah,
use it or lose it grant, right?
Basically, yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
I asked where the funding was, and they said it's a USDA grant that we have to use it or we're gonna lose it.
Yeah, right.
I didn't do a good job of explaining this, but the remaining funds on the project are grant funds. Those are the ones you used last. So this project helps to utilize those grant funds that were initially obligated.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Moved by Anderson, second by Hallie. Any other questions or discussion?
one question, do you know the approximate age of that digester?
Yeah, so that digester was was installed in 2012, so it's about 10 years old. When we had the tank inspected, it was kind of surprising that it was in the condition that it was, given that it was only about 10 years old. That was longer than I think the initial warranty on the tank. So actually what we're looking at with this project is also purchasing I think it's a 5-year extended warranty with the tank to hopefully give us a couple of inspections along that first couple of years to hopefully figure out that the tank is trending in the right direction to last longer than the previous version.
What is the normal life, would you say?
Yeah, the normal life is probably about 20 years or so. The type of material, it's a sludge tank. It's a pretty corrosive, nasty environment. So, if there's appropriate cathodic protection, they can last for 20 years or more. And that's the intention or the hope with this one.
Did this one fail because of lack of good inspection that missed the problem, or?
I don't know that the tank really failed. It just has deteriorated more quickly than expected. And with a tank like this, the consequence of failure is pretty significant. I mean, if you're holding 1 million gallons of sludge in the tank and the tank spouts a hole, that can be pretty messy. But I don't know that there's one real smoking gun reason as to why the tank was in the condition it was. There was a few speculations, and we're trying to cover our bases as best we can with this project to hopefully avoid that.
But it was because of inspection that you found
Correct.
what was happening, so
Correct.
it was a regular inspection, so.
Yeah, so the tanks are typically inspected every couple of years. So that's going to be part of that warranty to do those inspections.
Okay.
Did you say the new one is glass? It's gonna be glass lined?
Yep, glass lined.
It was the old one also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And the digester number 2 tank that was installed with the project is also that. So
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes?
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Approved unanimously. The next action item is to accept the wastewater treatment plant improvements bid package number 1 project as final.
yeah. So this has been a long time coming, but we're here tonight to basically consider the bid package number 1 treatment facility improvements project with PKG Contracting as final. Over the past year, we've been going through a long closeout process with the contractor. There have been many items on the project punch list. It took a long time to get resolved for various reasons. But we're at the point where we can say that all but one item has been addressed. The one item that has not been addressed is a warranty issue that the contractor has provided us a letter from the manufacturer that it will be addressed within the warranty period related to some insulation on one of the blowers. This is an extraordinarily complex project. And it's taken a long time to get from substantial completion all the way through final, but we're here tonight kind of at that final completion stage.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Moved by Toohill,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any other questions?
Are we Are we waiving some contingency or something for this, if I remember the conversation, or?
There's no contingency. Do you want me to touch on the payment of retainage?
Retainage.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what it
30
is.
days.
Yeah, so I think legally the city has up to 30 days to pay retainage. I guess it's kind of to your discretion how quickly you pay that. Kind of in our opinion, the contractor has gone through a good faith effort of trying to get all these items resolved. It's been a very lengthy process to get from kind of their penultimate pay application to their final pay application, which I think is one of your claims tonight. So we would recommend that you release that retainage earlier than the 30 days that you're legally required to do it within.
So
Okay, so-
with the motion to approve that, recommend to release the retainage also.
Okay, so
We
you're okay
didn't
with
do
that
that up
amendment?
above.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so there is a motion and a second. Toohill and Gandy. So Rebecca, please call the roll.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next action item, consideration of engineering services agreement with French Reniker Associates for construction of Morgan Street.
This engineering service agreement is for the design of the reconstruction, or the design and engineering during construction for Morgan Street from Burlington Avenue to Briggs, which is located just west of Chautauqua Park. I think it's the second street west of Chautauqua. The design services is a lump sum of $20,000, and then the engineering during construction is a budget of $20,000. And this is gonna be 7-inch reinforced PCC pavement and construction of ADA compliant sidewalks. Do you guys have any questions about this engineering service agreement?
Okay,
Move to approve.
okay.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Anderson. Any questions? Rebecca, please call the roll.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, the next one also is with French Reniker on Grand Park.
Yep. So this engineering service agreement is for the design and engineering during construction for Grand Park Drive. This is from Southview Drive to Little Fawn, and this is located just kind of southwest of the middle school. And this is gonna be a 3-inch HMA overlay with some patching and reconstructing the ADA compliant ramps as well. This engineering service agreement, the design is for a lump sum price of $13,000, and the engineering during construction is a budget of $13,000 as well.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Ham. Any other discussion or questions? If not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Next action item is consideration of GIS survey agreement with Surveying and Mapping LLC, SAM for short. Go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah. So one of the things that has been on my to-do list since I became the city engineer was to complete an ADA transition plan. This is required for communities that have more than 50 full-time employees. And it's necessary in order to keep receiving our DOT funding. As I started to dig into it about a month or so ago, was a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be. And it includes assessment of all curb ramps, all sidewalks, all buildings, and all parking lots, and their ability to meet ADA compliance. Because of this, and then also the council has talked about sidewalk conditions before, we thought it might, or that it would be very useful to myself and the city as far as planning in order to do a survey of the sidewalks. SAM is the company that hosts our GIS system, and they have done the data collection for our sewer system and our water system. So we've worked with them and know that they'll be able to integrate it into our current system. They gave us two options, but what the staff is recommending is option A, which instead of measuring each and every defect throughout the entire city, they are ranking each block. They will look at and see how many defects there are on that block, but they're not going to measure it. And the thought being, with Iowa winters, a trip hazard might not meet ADA compliance right now, and through the winter it might shift, and all of a sudden that sidewalk becomes either worse or better. And so if we were to ever do some sort of assessment project, we would want to do it again regardless of what this survey shows. So we're recommending going with the lower cost option with a budget of $37,351, where they are ranking each block, and then they are also measuring each curb ramp. So we'll know every curb ramp that is in compliance and out of compliance, and then have a ranking system on all of the sidewalks. So this will be really good for planning on any sort of sidewalk projects. They'll be able to integrate with any of our street projects, but it will also allow me to get the ADA transition plan completed. The one attachment, in addition to the contract with SAM, is a schedule of our sidewalk fund, or our sidewalk funding. The sidewalk fund is, after the city did the sidewalk assessment about 10 years ago, people who chose to pay that back over a period of time, those funds are going into what we call the sidewalk fund. And we have used that to fund some sidewalk improvements. You'll see most recently the sidewalk at Merrill and Carpenter, and then we are using it to fund the sidewalk, the connector on C Street, and then replace the sidewalk on 9th Street. There are some other things that have already been designated for these funds, and that includes the design of Highway 1. And I guess what I'm showing you is that in the plan, I had already planned on using $30,000 of this for some sort of GIS mapping. That number of 30,000 was a gut. It wasn't an actual quote from anyone. So what I'm requesting is that we approve the contract with SAM with a budget of $37,400 and to be paid for from the sidewalk fund.
I would move for approval.
Okay, moved by Rasmussen,
Second.
Yes, sidewalk
Second.
approval.
second by Gandy. Any other questions or discussion? Now please call the roll.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Next is the agreement with Jefferson County Rural Water.
Go ahead.
Guess Melanie's going to take that one.
Yes.
So this has been in front of the Water and Sewer Committee already, but what we are looking at is Jefferson County Rural Water has requested an additional connection near Walton Lake in order to supply a rural residential development east of Walton Lake and the golf course. And so after initial discussion with the Water and Sewer a couple months ago, we finalized the terms of this agreement, and there's just a few things I'll point out to you. Most of it is standard language that we have with our rural utilities when we do this type of agreement, but I'll point out the stuff that is atypical. On the first page, under 1A, it says that we have that we agree to a maximum quantity of 100,000 gallons. We are not requiring a minimum purchase with this agreement, and that is typical of our Jefferson County Rural Water. However, our agreements with Rathbun Rural Water, we have a minimum purchase requirement. So that's partially what we typically do. And then on page 3, item D, we are 2D, we are saying that any water services greater than 1 inch need to be approved by the city. This is so that we can kind of monitor the development out there and making sure that there's not a large single user that will have a huge draw and possibly affect our customers at Walton Lake. This is a 40-year agreement, but probably the most important part of the agreement is that we are allowing ourselves an option to purchase the improvements down the road. If this area would be annexed sometime in the next 20 years, we pay Jefferson County Rural Water a cost of $4,210 per customer. And we would get those customers and take ownership of the mains. However, if we would annex after 20 years, that the cost would be $1, and we would, again, get all of those customers and the mains. We are proposing, or this agreement proposes, that we set ourselves up for future ownership of this. Jefferson County Rural Water typically puts in smaller mains. In this case, they were going to put in a 4-inch main. And we've talked with them and gotten cost differences between the 4-inch that they would put in and a 6-inch that we would put in. And a 6-inch is required by DNR standards in order to provide fire protection. And so this agreement also includes language that says we will pay the difference between the 4-inch and the 6-inch. We did put a cap of it based off of the estimates provided by Drish Construction. Drish will be ordering the materials fairly soon after we sign this agreement, so we feel like the numbers are pretty solid. So we're expecting around $43,000 to be our cost. This is an unbudgeted expense, but we feel that this is an opportunity that we can't really pass up, whether it is to poise ourselves for future development and annexation, or it is to provide a future loop of the water main on that side of the city. Either way, we're going to want a 6-inch, and you can't hardly get a contractor to mobilize for $40,000, let alone put in as many feet of water main as we're talking here. So staff and the committee felt like this was a good investment and agreed to the $43,000, the actual difference, which is estimated at $43,000, but we are capping it at $50,000 to allow a little contingency. I think that covered most of the points, committee.
General fund?
No, we will pay it out of the water fund.
Water.
Yep.
Just clarification, I just thought of this. And that is the 4-inch versus the 6-inch. If it's a DNR regulation, is that for fire protection? I mean, why wouldn't they go ahead and do that? Just because it's not city, you're saying?
Correct. Rural water systems don't provide fire protection for their customers. It's
Right, but knowing that it's going to be the city who provides that to them, it's logical to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's their policy, their business model, not to provide that.
Yeah, okay.
Why is there no minimum purchase requirement?
That is typically what we do with Jefferson County Rural Water because of, I guess, kind of the mutual benefit of the two utilities. Jefferson County Rural Water doesn't typically try and steal our customers like other agencies may. So we like to work nicely with Jefferson County Rural Water.
Jefferson County Rural Water has been a very good partner of ours over the years. We've been serving them water with a couple other connections, so we're real comfortable working well with them.
I move that we approve the agreement with Jefferson County Rural Water.
Second.
Okay, been moved by Flournoy, second by Rasmussen. Any other questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, next resolution, consideration of setting dates of a consultation and public hearing on a proposed amendment number 1 to the North Campus Village. This is phase 5 urban renewal plan in the city of Fairfield, state of Iowa. So the consultation meeting would be Tuesday, October 19th at 10 a.m. and the public hearing November 8th at 7 p.m.
Motion
Aaron?
to approve.
Correct.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about it, Aaron?
Well, this is actually an amendment to our current agreement with Vastu Partners for Phase 5. The reason being is in the past we essentially didn't handle the certifying of debt properly, so we're ensuring that we can get the funds that we promised to Vastu Partners in the amount of time that we're extending that agreement by, I think it's 5 years, so that we can guarantee that we can get him the amount of money that was promised. Not to exceed that amount, we didn't change that, it's just extending the time frame so that he gets the money that he invested for infrastructure for the city.
Okay. Great. So we do have a motion on the floor by Anderson,
Second.
second by Hallie. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is fixing a date for a public hearing on the proposal to enter into development agreement with Vastu Partners, LLC, and providing for publication of notice. So that public hearing, again, would be November 8th at 7 p.m.
And this is another developer's agreement for I would call it 5B, because we're going to add on to Area 5 with this new area. And so we're going to add on another 20 years to the new area, but it's still part of Area 5. But it'll be the last development for Vastu Partners in that area. But this is also an LMI development, which will add low to moderate housing to our community.
Okay.
Yeah, we discussed this at committee, so I had a couple of details. The breakdown of the 35 units was 4 one-bedroom, 1 two-bedroom, 18 three-bedroom, and 12 four-bedroom. So LMI, low to moderate income, it's based on the average income of the county. So we're talking about family homes. We're talking about affordable homes that we need desperately. So I'll make the motion to approve the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion or questions? Not, please call the roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Thank you. Last resolution, consideration of resolution approving and authorizing a form of loan agreement and authorizing and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of $10,585,000 sewer revenue capital loan notes, taxable series 2021 of the city of Fairfield, state of Iowa, under the provisions of the city code of Iowa and providing for a method of payment of the notes. Go ahead, Aaron, you're gonna.
This is the bond that will cover step 3, or the loan from USDA to cover step 3.
So is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve and clarify that step 3 is part of our sewer conveyance project to replace old sewer mains that have an inflow and infiltration causing sanitary sewer overflows, which are illegal in the state of Iowa and kind of gross.
Actually, I think I'm step 2, isn't it, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We're still in step 2.
This is closing step 2, not
2, okay.
getting ready to borrow. Sorry.
Anyway,
We've had 7.
we have to do
for that
this.
stuff.
That's the gist of it. There's no choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
And second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Please call a roll.
Hallie?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1205, this is our second reading for the mobile food truck ordinance. And there is a food truck map there. And you saw this last week. Did anybody have any comments from the public?
There was a lady who came to the meeting last week and missed her chance to speak on this, but she didn't give me the feedback that one way or another. So Other than that, haven't heard anything. Again, this is only for public property. The peddler license will take care of food trucks who remain on private property. So just to protect the citizens in the city from potential issues, we just have a simple permit. And those are the locations where we would allow food truck to be on public property. So the area around Central Park on the inside parking area, and then the parking area just north of Petra Park. City staff are not going to block off areas for food trucks, so it's first come, first serve. But there's no limitation to the number of days. If they buy a weekly permit, they can be out there every day, just not from midnight to 6 a.m. So we think it's fair. Like most of our laws, it's kind of like be a decent person. You know, if you're gonna have a food truck, like don't be noisy, clean up after yourself, etc. So this just gives the city staff, on the staff level, the ability to take these in and handle them without bringing them to council every time.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to move this to the third reading.
I move that we move ordinance 1205 from the second to the third reading.
Second.
Moved by Flornoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Thank you. Under the mayor's report, I have a couple things here. I have an appointment to the Carnegie Museum Board. Kathy Talanair, who has been a volunteer at the museum, is going to replace Dan Plum, who resigned. So I would like to have a motion to approve Kathy to replace Dan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We also need to appoint a city physician. Apparently, Dr. Buck was our city health physician, and he retired a couple of years ago, and apparently we just never replaced one. And I was notified by Scott Vaughn that he had a couple properties that needed some attention and wanted some verification from a city health physician. So Dr. Terry Cochran has agreed to serve in that role. It's a volunteer role. It sounds like it's not used very often, but anyway, he has volunteered to do that. So
What's the job description? I'm confused.
well, in this case that I'm aware of, there are a couple homes that look like they're unlivable due to not safe conditions. Hoarding is going on. They're not sanitary. And as far as I know, those are primarily when the physician gets involved.
Correct. Just to
How
give us,
does that intersect with Scott's job?
when there's a nuisance, we need a medical advice for whether or not that's a sanitary condition for people to live in. So that's where
Scott makes a decision.
he calls in the city physician to help with that.
Advises
Yeah.
on it
Correct.
and confirms
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
interpretation.
Yeah.
He will provide documentation to the health physician, and then decision will be made.
The physician might also give an affidavit that says what Scott needs to do as a health hazard, or use the physician's position as cause for an administrative search warrant. So
Okay.
he could get involved all the way through hearings if necessary.
Okay. Since our city attorney wasn't at the mic, he did say that the attorney could be called in for an affidavit or any hearings after that.
Doctor.
Yes, the doctor.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know what I said. Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve Dr.
Okay.
Cochran.
Moved by Toohill.
Second.
Second by Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. In front of you this evening, I laid in front of you a request to meet in front of the council. This is being brought to you because this was denied. And, as a course of procedure, I want to bring this to you. In my view, this has nothing to do with our city business. And Mr. Shattuck had suggested in an email to me also that the city could then invest in this digital currency. And I told him, by state law, we can't invest in that. We can only invest in the banks. You can't invest in securities. And then I did not foresee any time in the near future that digital currency would be of any use to the city or would be approved to be used. So I think, if you guys want to hear what he has to say regarding this, you can certainly vote to do that. But again, he was denied because we feel like this is not any city business, and it has no particular city business.
So our council rules of procedure, I can't remember, is it 2 or 3 council members can vote to add something that the mayor had removed?
One can
It's two.
request, you need a second if it's been denied.
Correct.
Okay, so it
It's
takes 2, okay. Yeah, I think whenever something is denied, the council, if the mayor makes that decision, definitely let the council know so that we have that option, because if it's not on the agenda, then we don't know that it was something that someone asked to have on there.
Right.
Well, my position is pretty liberal on listening to people from the public, so I don't know if anybody ever been denied coming. I know Rick was here 4 years ago. And so, my general attitude is at least let him come and listen. And for 3 minutes, we can spare 3 minutes of our time to listen to the public. So I would be in favor of letting him come and speak to us.
Okay. I'll take that as a motion.
Yes.
Okay. So is there a second? Okay, so lack of a second means it won't go anywhere. Okay? All right. My last thing under the assessor's report, under my report is that I have set up we're going to have a virtual meeting with the county assessor just to talk about how he assesses properties and a lot of questions relating to his position. Yeah, as you know, 3 weeks ago, I brought up this idea that there's a misconception that if you paint your house, it will make your property taxes go up. So I thought a conversation with the assessor was warranted, and it was October 18th. I think we have 6:30 slated for that. I'm still waiting on a confirmation from Steve, but I think that's what our plan is at 6:30. And we'll do it here in the city chambers. Jason is going to live stream it. People will be able to ask questions. And hopefully there'll be good information out to the public. So, okay, so that is all I have. John, do you have anything for the city attorney report?
Not right now.
No, nothing? Okay. Let's go to committee and board reports, economic development.
We met tonight at 6, 2 items on our agenda. The first was the development agreement with Vastu Partners, which we already approved the public hearing for. Martin Brett has been a great partner with the city, and all the developers agreements that we've done so far have been favorable to our community. So glad to see that one moving forward. The second item were 2 grants that Sustainable Living Coalition, as a nonprofit, was wanting the city to be the grant designation or designee, because it has to be a nonprofit, I suppose a municipal nonprofit. But they've set up these 2 grants, a public service grant for $100,000 and a microenterprise grant for $50,000, where they will be administered by Chris Bowers from Area 15 Regional Planning Commission. So this will not be a burden to our city staff, and will allow the Sustainable Living Coalition and a number of other partners to purchase gardening equipment, to host home gardening educational workshops, and to provide startup seedlings to essentially encourage local people to grow some of their own food. The idea is that the grant funds are to build resiliency in communities, things that became issues during the pandemic, one of which was food insecurity. So by growing some of your own food, that's a wonderful way to save money and to have nutritious food available. So This was a preliminary discussion. They haven't brought an actual agreement yet. So maybe at the first meeting in November, we might have something to consider.
Yeah, our next meeting, we'll set a public hearing to address it, which will mean the first meeting in November, we'll have the public hearing and then agree to the grant if council chooses.
Yeah. But the fact that they've got a portion of the grant is being used by Area 15 to handle administration, I think that was a concern I had, when people have good intentions within it burdens city staff, it can be hard for the city to maintain that. But the committee was behind this, so we'll see what the agreement is. But that's your preliminary summary of what it's about. I do want to mention also that the committee had approved some changes to the Peddler license. Remember when I talked about the food truck ordinance, we talked about how that's a permit, but there was a license that all people that sell within the city. We don't believe those actually ever came to council. We were kind of holding them and waiting until we brought the food truck, and then when we brought the food truck ordinance, the Peddler permit or Peddler license didn't make it. So by our next meeting, we should have those changes. The idea was we took some of the language that we found in these food truck permits that was kind of more strong language in terms of legal requirements and moved them to the Peddler license. So the Peddler license, once again, anyone selling food from a food truck needs a Peddler license. So that's where we wanted the background check and the insurance requirements. We wanted it there. And the permit for being on public property is not as strongly worded. It's more about when and where you can operate. So we'll bring these changes, I guess, at the next meeting. But Economic Development Committee had approved these a couple months ago and just never brought them to council.
Great, thank you. Water and sewer utilities?
We met at 6:30 tonight. It was myself, the committee was myself, Martha Rasmussen, Michael Halley, and attendance was Mayor Connie Boyer, Aaron Koiker, Melanie Carlson, Steve Redinger, and John Morrissey. And basically, we discussed to recommend the option to enter into the agreement with the Jefferson County Rural Water Association, which Melanie went into detail tonight, and you guys have heard everything about it. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Administrator and department reports.
I'll keep mine fairly short. I'll have a financial report coming up here next month. We were able to, with the audit, we were holding open the end of the year closings back in July because the auditors like to correct things while we're going. So we've been through the auditors have been here. We've made a lot of the corrections that they've wanted. So we were able to close the end of the year up in July. And so then we've got this next quarter for a financial report that I'll be able to give you here next month. Yeah, that's all I have.
And are the auditors planning on coming down to address council?
At some point, yes.
Yes, okay. You'll keep us informed.
Yes,
Okay. And that's all you have?
that's all I have.
Okay. Melanie?
So the first item on there is an update from the Carnegie Foundation and the Carnegie Board. They've continued with their capital fundraising and their projects. They've completed the front entry stairs and replacing some of the sidewalk out there. In essence, what they're requesting is a change to the 5-year CIP and moving phase 3 to phase 2. The reasoning behind this is that some of the funding sources they've come across would like to do a project right now. And the phase 3, which is the structural repairs to the west exterior, is a lower cost than what phase 2 was at. So they're basically, instead of taking this issue to the property committee, we're just bringing it straight to you that the foundation would like to proceed with structural repairs to the west exterior. If you do approve it, again, the Carnegie Foundation is funding all of this either through their own capital improvements or through grant opportunities. And they intend to work with Klingner and Associates on doing the bid documents in order to bid out this work, to do the design and bid out this work.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So I guess I'd need a motion to.
I'll move to approve, and then I have a question.
Okay.
So our CIP, they're just basically saying they just want us to shift where this is, and even though it's not anything that has to do with city funding.
Right.
It's easy.
Yeah, then it's a city building, so they have to come here to ask to do improvements.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Rebecca, do you need a voice vote on that? Okay. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. That's approved.
Okay, and then lastly, every 6 months, we're required to let EPA know what we are doing in order to come into compliance with our agreement with them. Our agreement is to remove all sanitary sewer overflows within the city of Fairfield by December 2032. But we do have interim completion dates, such as completing step 2, completing the wastewater treatment plant, and now working on step 3. This is here mainly so you know that we continue to meet this federal requirement that we have to do. But what I would like to point out is the progress on the sanitary sewer overflows. So in the last 6 months, there were 5 sanitary sewer overflows. However, only one of them was on
City Council.
only one of them was on the east side of the system, which is where we've done all of the improvements. And that one overflow occurred before step 2 was operational. So we've actually received more rain since that April overflow. We received more rain in June and July and didn't have an overflow on the east side. So, that's exciting news that step 2 is working like it's supposed to. We'll obviously continue to monitor it and work on removing infiltration upstream. But now that step 2 is complete, we can monitor that. And which that brings us, to why we're doing step 3 and possibly future steps is because we are still seeing sanitary sewer overflows on the west side of the system. And that's why we're continuing on those projects. I do not need council approval on this. This is again just an FYI, so you know that we're meeting this federal requirement. Thank you.
Great. Any questions to Melanie on that topic? Not? Okay, great. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill. Second by Ham. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.